So when you take on a project as big as this, you just can't do it all by yourself. So I just want to firstly take this time to thank everyone that's had a helping hand, who's helped me along the way. Some of the standouts are Stephen Hall Jr. He played a critical part in getting this thing done. Without his help, it wouldn't have happened. He basically designed the front suspension on the truck, and he was involved in doing all the laser cutting and the CNC bending of all the plate. So was a big undertaking on his part. I don't think he realised how big a job it was when he agreed to it. But yeah, thanks, Steve. You're a legend. Also, Steve Phillips from Race QWA. He's basically had my back the whole way. Looked after me on parts and just general knowledge, anything that I needed to know. If I needed to get a measurement off something, I could ring him up, he'd sort me out. If I needed to pull something apart and I hadn't done it before, he was happy to tell me how to do it. So, huge thanks to him. Glenn Humphreys, both Glenn and Steve helped me early on in the piece with learning how to CAD. I don't know if you've heard the saying, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. You can teach a man a fish to fish and he'll eat forever. So early on in the piece, Glenn and Steve, but Glenn came around and was basically giving me lessons on how to AutoCAD. In my case, how to use Fusion 360, and for him, it was a little bit new because he's used to using SolidWorks, but the principles are very similar, and there is actually settings in there. So basically, the commands and that are almost the same as SolidWorks. There's definitely differences between the two programs on how they process and compute certain things, but all in all, Glenn helped immensely with that, and without his help early on in the piece, there's no way that I would have been able to do all the CAD and get the truck to the standard it is now. Like, basically, without drawing it in CAD and using laser cutting or plasma cutting and CNC bending, your accuracy is it's just not going to be there. Doesn't matter how good your cardboard template is, it's just not going to work. So every part on this truck was drawn in CAD. It took nearly, the best part of 12 months. Every nut, every bolt, every component was drawn to scale, and accurately to scale, like within 0.01 of a mil. Like, it's the more accurate you can draw your parts, the more accurate your model's going to be. And then the big problem becomes, can you produce your parts or your truck to the same accuracy as your model? And the way you do that is by jigging it. So every part that we made not only had to get laser cut out and made and welded, but before we could do that, we had to draw jigs, make the jigs, and then we made a jig table, and then all the jigs would bolt to the jig table. And because it's all done in CAD, you just basically have say you're building like a top arm, you'd have your top arm, And obviously the most important parts of the top arm are the 3 pivot points. So you've got the 2 Heim joints where it's pivoting off the chassis, and then the spherical joint out on the end. Now they're the 3 points, and really it doesn't matter how you get to those 3 points or what the material is doing in between those 3 points, as long as those 3 points are going to be in the exact position that the model says they're going to be in. So when we're jigging, we jig around those 3 points. So we'd make a fixing to hold the spherical joint, a fixing to hold where the 2 Heim joints would be mounted, and they would be permanent fixed spots. So as you're welding in the rest of the arm, those points can't move and deflect anywhere. And that's how you get your accuracy down. And we did that even with the frame. So even the frame, every tube got early on in the piece, all the critical points, which are the suspension mounting points, they were all jigged. So without the jig, you're just guessing. You know, you can tape measure's only so accurate. So yeah, without the help of Glenn and Steve early on, we wouldn't have been able to do that CAD, which means we wouldn't have been able to get the accuracy we needed. And yeah. Another big thank you would be to our sponsors. Everyone knows motorsport's expensive. And it helps a hell of a lot when you've got people in your corner with great products that are prepared to assist you. Also want to thank Mickey Thompson tyres. We're running the MTZ 37-inch Mickey Thompson tyre this year. At this stage, we're just going to run the 37 till we upgrade the rear diff, and then we're going to be looking to run the 40s. So great company to pair with, great product range, great support to the off-road racing community. Mickey Thompson have been a part of the off-road community for a very, very long time, you know. And yeah, really, really happy to be a part of the Mates of Mickey campaign. Okay, so I also want to thank our transmission builder, which is Precision Automatic Transmissions. Especially in a trophy truck. A lot of people think that, you know, we're all running around with a turbo 400. You know, some people have gone to Albans, but you know, I can tell you they're not standard turbo 400s, and they're far from them. As soon as you start putting, you know, 35-inch, 37-inch, 40-inch tyres and a decent engine, your standard turbo 400, it's not going to do much at all. So it pays to have one professionally built, pays to have the right parts in it, and you know, a poor man pays twice. So sometimes it's better off paying someone who's got that knowledge, that knows what parts need to be in it. And especially in off-road, I don't know how many people have I've heard having transmission problems because they've been told they've got some racing transmission with a stage 3 kit in it or some rubbish like this. You know, basically a stage 3 kit means nothing. It means they've changed your clutch packs and have put some different, maybe some harsher clutch packs in them. You know, maybe they've added another clutch pack, but it's basically a standard box with some different clutch pads in it. You know, it's nothing. So that's there's a lot to them. You know, you pay for what you get, and it really does pay to have someone working on your transmission who knows them inside and out, knows their weak spots, has seen where their flaws are under certain conditions. You know, not everyone's shock loading a transmission at 7,000 RPM with a 37-inch tyre for 120 kilometres straight. The biggest problem when building transmissions and diffs, everything is rated in drag racing speak. So, you hear people go, "Oh, I've got a 2,000 horsepower gearbox," but that's 2,000 horsepower for whatever for 5 seconds down a drag strip. It's not really going to hold up for 400 kilometres off-road. So yeah, Precision Automatic Transmissions, they look after our gearbox. We've had no gearbox failures. It runs nice and cool, as it should. And yeah, look them up if you want a proper gearbox, because or you're sick of putting in swapping it out with a Gumtree special.